Hey, welcome, guys. I'm sitting up today. I just spoke to the physical therapist, and they say it's normal to not be able to move your leg very much a day and two after surgery. That's kind of motivated me to move around a little bit more. I feel that I was very, very prepared for the surgery as I went to physical therapy before the surgery to really strengthen myself for it. And here we are today. I'm not going to get um, you know, into just talking about that. I want to talk about the game I'm going to play. I'm playing a little bit of Strat-O-Matic. I'm replaying the 1987 Mets using the Strat-O-Matic PC game to be my stat keeper, and then I'm of course using the cards, and I'm using the nameless cards to fill in for players I don't have, and I'm trying to stick to players I do have as much as possible to kind of simplify my life. So it's the second game of a series. This, I believe, is April 18th. I don't remember if it's Friday or Saturday. I believe it's a Saturday. I believe it's a three-game set in St. Louis. This time, what we're going to do is we're going to face Ron Darling against Danny Cox. Now, the Mets were, I think it was 92 and 70, 3 games out of first place. And as I spoke yesterday about some of the reasons why, Ron Darling, he was their most, they're basically go-to guy, their workhorse, but he did not have a great season as his ERA was 4.29. But if you look, he didn't give up a lot of hits in comparison to innings. I mean, I think it's well below his innings pitched. So it wasn't the hits that hurt him, but it was the base on balls. He really lost the plate, had almost 100 walks in 207 innings, and he gave up a ton of home runs, gave up 24 home runs. So I think he struggled with control, and then he'd come over the plate, trying to get himself out of trouble, and that's when they were kind of belting him out of the ballpark. And that, I think, what happened to Ron Darling that season. He really struggled with his control. He couldn't hit the corners, and then, of course, he'd have to come over the plate to stop walking guys, and then they were just kind of wait there and sit on fastballs and so on and so forth. So it's going to be Ron Darling versus Danny Cox. Danny Cox, another one with a high ERA. I find that a lot of players have high ERAs in this 87 season. 3.88 ERA, but he was 11 and looks like a 9 there. 11 and 9. And Ron Darling was 12 and 8. So these are two of the better pitchers on the St. Louis Cardinals and the New York Mets, where this is an April game, and we're ready to start. Let me go over the lineup real quick. It's the same lineups as yesterday. That's what I like about playing the older seasons. You get Dykstra, Backman is playing today instead of Tuffle, Hernandez, Carter, Strawberry, McReynolds, Johnson, Santana, and of course Darling, the pitcher. And that's for the visiting New York Mets. Vince Coleman in left field. You have Ozzie Smith, Tommy Herr, Jack Clark, Willie McGee, Jim Lindeman, Terry Pendleton, Steve Lake again at catcher, and Danny Cox, the pitcher. Now, yesterday's game was what I characterized as a blowout going into the eighth inning. It was an 8-1 game. I reached out to one of my buddies and basically gave him the recap of the game, telling him how the Mets got blown out by a score of 8-1. It looked like the game was over, but lo and behold, the Mets scored a run in the seventh, making it 8-1, of course. But then they came up with 5 runs against Tudor, who just lost it. Daly or Dolly, Bill, I think it was Dolly and Tudor gave up 5 more runs, and the Mets crept within 2 runs, 8-6, going into the ninth inning. They got a man on, and there was a couple of players that came to the plate as the tying run. So that game very easily could have been tied and turned into an 8-8 ball game, which would have been an outstanding comeback for the Mets. And that's one thing that I mentioned when I played this team. I played the season already using APA, and the Mets were never out of a game. They could be down, 5-0 in the fourth, and by the sixth inning, they're up 6-5. That's how quickly they can score runs. They have power, they have speed, they have average, they have good on-base percentage, and they have a decent pitching staff. Not great, but for 87, I think it holds its own. They're one of the better pitching staffs in 1987, I believe, off the top of my head. Let's start this game. And here is the pitch from Danny Cox. Not totally happy. All right, there it goes. Danny Cox to Mookie Wilson. Actually, Lenny Dykstra starting this game. It's Dykstra and Backman. Why Backman? So let's get them out. I used them as pinch hitters yesterday, so they still may be in the pile. Yeah, I struggled with yesterday's game. Had to take a lot of breaks. So Tuffle's out. And as you can see, I have them all sleeved. So Dykstra and Wally Backman. Magadan played in yesterday's game as well. It was a good game yesterday. All right. So let's roll it. Let's do it. Official game. Ball game begins. It's going to be a 4, so he's a lefty off Cox. A column 4 with a 3, and that's a ground ball shortstop. X with a 6, but as you know, Ozzie Smith is a 1, and he's going to make it's a ball hit up the middle, and showing his outstanding range, he gets there and throws on to first to get the speedy Dykstra by half a step. All right. And it's Wally Backman. He is a switch hitter batting from the left side against the righty Danny Cox. And that is a 2 and a 7, and that's bounced to second base. That'll be an easy play for Tommy Herr. So 2 away for the Mets. And next up is, let's see if I can get that there a little bit. Next up is Keith Hernandez. Mookie Wilson's not playing in today's game, not yet. Keith Hernandez, who struck out for the last out of yesterday's game with a runner on base. He was the tying run. And Todd Worrell came in, and that's going to be a 1 against a righty, a 1-6, and that's a base on ball, so he walks. Keith Hernandez showing a good eye there and patience. Trots on down to first base. Here comes Gary Carter. Gary Carter with good power for the Mets. It hit 20 home runs in 1987. This is 87. Where were you? I was in college and driving a cab in New York City. Yes, I was. Going to Shea Stadium to see the Mets when I could. Gary Carter. The pitch, that's going to be a 6 against the righty and a 9. And that is a drive. And it's going to be cut off by the center fielder. And they're going to third will be Hernandez. Stopping at first with a single is Gary Carter. So 2 outs, 2 men on for the Mets. And that's Darryl Strawberry, the lefty power hitting outfielder for the Mets. And that's going to be off Strawberry against the righty, a 2 and a 7. And that is a deep fly ball in the gap. There is McGee, and makes a nice running catch. So he read that ball well right off the bat, because that ball had triple written all over it. All right, that is 1/2 inning completed. Mets leave a couple of on with 1 hit and a walk. And here comes Ron Darling, steps on the mound. He's a fan favorite in New York. And he's one of the announcers for the Mets presently. And here's Vince Coleman starting off. Let's get this up a little bit higher here. Ron Darling, of course, is a righty. Here's the pitch. Coleman batting from the left side. So that's a 1 and a 7. That's a strikeout. So Coleman swings and misses at a high fastball from Darling. So Darling can have a good game for us here. And that's going to tie the series. And that's going to be a 6. He's a switch hitter batting lefty with a 9er. And that's going to be a strikeout. Back-to-back Ks to start off the game for Ron Darling. So he's looking sharp, sharper than sharp on the first 2 batters. And next is Tommy Herr, switch hitting second baseman. Bats third for the Cardinals. So he's a pretty good hitter, batting third. And that is a 2 against the righty with a 4, and that's a tapper right back to the mound. Darling picks it up over to first, and that retires the side. So super easy inning. 1, 2, 3 for Ron Darling. Ron Darling, a Met his whole career up to this point. Eventually goes to the A's towards the twilight of his career. All right, it's going to be Kevin McReynolds against Danny Cox. And here is the pitch. That's a 2 and a 7, and that's line base hit, single for McReynolds. McReynolds has the horseshoe. His lines went to center field, played by McGee, gets it in. McReynolds has good speed. He is a stealing B. Let's see what Danny Cox looked like. He's a 0, and I believe Lake was a -2. This is from yesterday. He is a -2, so plus it's a -4, so we're not going to be going there. Howard Johnson. Let's find his card. Hojo, as they called him. Good power. Has a great season in, I believe, 1990. Had a bunch of good seasons. Has good power. Not a great fielder, but has good power. And good power and good speed. Decent eye. He'll get on base for you. Hojo right here. Here's a pitch from Danny Cox. And that is a 5 off the pitcher. He's a switch hitter batting lefty. And with a 3, that's going to be a ground ball to the first baseman, a 12. Now, your first baseman, Jack Clark, don't know what he is. He will be a 4, so not a very good first baseman. So we have a 12. And that, if we go on here, we have to look at his other numbers. We can do that today. I don't think I did that yesterday. He is a, hold on. Jack Clark is an E19. Let's just roll them all. So now we're going to look in the E19 box. And let's see. We rolled looks like an 8 in the E19 box. An 8 is going to be a ground ball. Oh, it's going to be goes to second for 1, back to first. And it's a double play. So big double play turned by Jack Clark, and a ball that's ripped down the line. And Clark comes up with it. And he knew exactly what he wanted to do. He whipped it to second to her, and actually to the shortstop, Smith. And Smith with an on-target throw to get the speedy Howard Johnson for the 3-6-3 double play. And here is Rafael Santana. And that's a 3. And a 5, and that's popped up, middle infield. Tommy Herr and Ozzie Smith converge, and it's Herr that calls off Smith to retire the side. So no runs, a hit, nobody left. We move to bottom of the second inning. Ron Darling now against Jack Clark with that great defensive effort. All right. Good game so far, and kind of moving along a little bit faster than yesterday's game. All right, that'll be a 2 against the righty. So a 2, and that looks like a 3. Let me bring this a little closer to me. And that'll be a strikeout. So that's a 3rd strikeout for Darling. And it's Willie McGee now. Willie McGee, switch hitter. What did Willie McGee do in 87? Batted .285. 11 home runs, 11 triples. So a good speed. That's a 6 against the lefty, a 6 and an 8, and that is a ground ball to shortstop. Santana's a 3, so not a very good shortstop. And a 9 is going to force us to look at his error rating. So let's see, Santana's error rating is an E22. Now let's roll these dice again. E22, we got a 4, and a 4 is going to be an error and boots it. So Santana, E6. I believe it's a 1 base error. Let me see that again. 22, And what do we say, a 4? Yes. So he makes an error, and it's a 1 base error. It's in parentheses. All right, so it's an E6 on Santana. That allows a Speedy McGee, who is a base stealer of a B. Again, Darling is a +2 hold, so the B makes him a 1 to 13, and Gary Carter's got a 0. So we're gonna try to steal on Carter. And there he goes, and that's an 11. He gets it. He's in there under the tag. So McGee with a stolen base, and here's Lindemann. Jim Lindemann. Don't know too much about him. I don't remember him very well. Here's a pitch from Darling. It's a 4 against the righty and a 7, and that's ball 4. Like I said, one of Darling's major curses for the 87 season was a loss of control. Terry Pendleton now with runners on first and second, and Pendleton bats. He's a switch hitter batting lefty against the righty Ron Darling. Here's the pitch from Darling. That's a 2 and a 12, and that's ball 4. So Darling has lost control a little bit of the plate here. Is struggling with his location as usual, as expected. Bases are loaded, and it's Steve Lake. The Mets are going to play it for double play depth. And Darling checks in with Carter. He sets and deals. And that's a 2 against a righty with an 11. That's popped up. Middle infield, shortstop. Santana calls for it. All right, and that brings up the pitcher. So hopefully we can get the pitcher out and get out of this inning. Let's see what we got here. I believe the pitcher is a Danny Cox is a 1. I believe both pitchers are 1s. Yep, he's a 1, so this is the only card I'll have to use. And let's see who it's off of. Pena can shift. He's not, doesn't apply there. It's not Morris with another pinch hitter. All right, here goes. That was yesterday's game. Pitch from Darling with the bases loaded. It's a 2. So that'll be off the pitcher hitting card number 1. This should be a 12 ground ball shortstop, and stepping on the bag for the force is Santana to end the inning. So the Cardinals leave the bases loaded. We are continuing our game. It's the top of the 3rd, no score. The Mets just got out of the bases loaded jam with an error and 2 walks. And it's going to be Ron Darling leading it off. Ron Darling against Danny Cox. And here's the pitch. Darling's got a 1 pitcher hitter card. And he's got a can't see that 1 with a W. All right, and it's a 3-6. So that'll be off of Darling. A 3 and a 6 is a hard hit ground ball to the shortstop. Ozzie Smith feels it easily and throws a strike to Jack Clark for the first out. Here's Lenny Dykstra. Dykstra grounded out to the shortstop. And that's a 2 and a 9er, and that's going to be a drive in the gap, and that's going to split the outfielders and roll to the wall. Digging for 2 and making a big turn around second is Dykstra, but he stops, puts on the brakes, and decided against going for 3 here, but I would have encouraged him to do that with 1 out. Not with no outs, and not with 2 outs, but with 1 out I would have. But he did decide to put on the brakes, and here's Wally Backman. Danny Cox checks in with Steve Lake. And sets and deals. It's going to be a 6 against the lefty, the switch hitting Backman, and a 3, and that's a fly ball to right field X. The right fielder is Lindemann. And Lindemann is a right fielder of a 4. So he's a right field 4, and what if we rolled a 10? And that says a 10, right field 4. That's going to go into his error range. His error range is, I could have written all this down, I didn't bother. His error range is a E9. Let's roll again under E9. Right fielder. 2 red. It's a 10 under E9. And a 10 is going to be a fly ball B. So a B, what does the B tell us? A B tells us that batter is out on a flat, runner on third scores, others hold. Okay. So he holds F9, and up comes Keith Hernandez. He walked in the first inning. Here's a pitch from Cox. Keith Hernandez bats from the left side. And it's a 1 and a 5, and that's ball 4. So Keith Hernandez walks for the second time in the game. And that leads us to Gary Carter. Passes the baton to Gary Carter. Danny Cox checks in with Lake. Lake gives him the sign, sets and deals. And it's a 6 against the righty and a 3, and that's a fly ball left field X this time. Left fielder is Vince Coleman. Coleman is a 3 E10. A 3 E10, we rolled a 19. A 19 says it's a ball that he gets under, drifts under it, and squeezes it for the out. So no runs, 1 hit, 2 left. Mets again with runners on base and fail to capitalize. Go to the bottom of the 3rd. Ron Darling is going to be pitching to Coleman to start us off. Now let's do this. Let's move a little bit quicker. Pitch from Darling. It's going to be a 2 and a 2, and that is, oh, he gets plunked. Vince Coleman gets hit, and he is on at first. Vince Coleman, always a threat to steal, and there he goes with a 2, and he is. Now I know a 2. Man, I don't remember the rule. A 2 could be like a catcher potential error or something like that. Man, I don't remember the rule. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. But he steals, and let's see if it says it here. Or that's in the advanced rules, I'm not sure. Let me see, stolen base. Yeah, I would have to look at the book, and I'm not going to go through all that right now. This is a quick, fun game. And he makes it, he steals easily. Throw is nowhere near in time. So Coleman gets hit by the pitch, steals second, is on its second. Here's Ozzie Smith. And that is a 2 and an 8. Has a grounder to second. Moving to 3rd is Coleman. So Coleman now at 3rd base. They're going to bring the infield in. Yes. Well, it's going to be Tommy Herr. Tommy Herr, the batter, switch hitter, batting lefty. And against the righty, it's a 2 and a 4, and that's a ground ball. Pitcher A, runner will hold at 3rd with the infield in. So that's 2 down, and here comes Jack Clark, the slugger, the big slugger for the Cardinals, hit 35 home runs. And Ron Darling got to proceed with caution. Ron Darling does give up a lot of home runs. He gave up 24 home runs in 200 innings. 35 home runs, 23 doubles, and 400 at bats. So he's got a lot of home runs on his card. Here's a pitch from Ron Darling. Ooh, that's going to be off of Clark, and that ball. Ball 4. So Darling really pitched around Clark. He knew about his power, and he just was not gonna risk throwing anything over the plate. And pitched around him to face Willie McGee, who's of course a good hitter but does not have that sort of power. And let's do it. So 1st and 3rd, 2 outs. Willie McGee, the batter, switch hitter, batting lefty against the righty Darling. Darling checks with Carter, and he deals.
And that is a 2 again, a 2 and an 11. That is a diamond shot, 17. That's ripped and caught by the second baseman, Wally Backman. Went up for that and grabbed it and came back down, snow cone style, and held on. So no runs, no hits, a couple of left, and we're still in a scoreless game going into the top of the fourth inning. So that was an exciting play. Wally Backman at the right place at the right time for the Mets. Darryl Strawberry facing Danny Cox. Strawberry power hitter, young power hitter for the Mets. Destined to be one of the big stars of the future. That's a 5 against the lefty, a 5 and a 9er, and that's a deep fly ball to left field, but under it is Coleman for the first out. Here's Kevin McReynolds, picked up from San Diego as a free agent, I believe. That's a 1 and a 10, and that's a deep fly. And a 1-5, nope, and that's caught by the left fielder on the warning track. That was a diamond shot from McReynolds. Remember, it's 1-5 home runs. Singles are 1-10, and home runs are 1-5 in the St. Louis Park. You can grab that off the website, the Strat-O-Matic website. All right, here's Hojo with a batting lefty with a 6 and a 7, and that's bounce to second base. 16, Tommy Herr. What is his number? Real quick, let's look at Tommy Herr's number here. Tommy Herr's number is a 2E8 at 16. I'm almost positive that it's an out, and it is, and that retires the side. 3 up, 3 down in the top of the fourth. Still no score. Here come the Cardinals, bottom of the order for the Cardinals. So both pitchers holding their own. And here's Jim Lehman, who walked. So 3 walks allowed by Darling. And that's going to be a 4 against the righty. A 4 with a 4 is a ground ball third base with a 12. Now remember, Hojo is not a great fielder. So Hojo is not a great fielder, and he is a 4E27. I'm going to write that in 4E27. Ooh, sloppy. 7. And so let's see if that 4 with a 12 against third base. Yeah, that's going to take us to the E27. So we're going to roll this again. Maybe an error here. And let's see, 27, where is that? What do we roll? A 10, and that's a ball that he plays. Makes the play on and fires to first to get Lindemann. So good play by Hojo. Pendleton is next with a 6 and a 3, and that's a bouncer to short. Again, we're getting a lot of X results. Santana, a 3E22. He's already made an error today. 3E22. And that's going to be a 9 on the 22. Where's the shortstop? A 9 will be an A play. So that's a ball that he handles and throws over first on target to Keith Hernandez. And here's Steve Lake with 2 outs. So back-to-back ground balls that could have been errors, but were not. And that Steve Lake is a righty. That's a 5 with, it looks like a 10. And that's that's a diamond shot. And a 19 is going to be a deep fly ball to left. On the track is McReynolds up against the wall and makes the catch. Not a home run hitter's park in St. Louis. So no runs, no hits, 3 up, 3 down for Darling. Go to top of the 5th. Danny Cox versus Rafael Santana. Pitch from Cox, winds and deals. And that's a 3 and a 3. Again, nope, this one's a fly ball. Easy pickings for the left fielder Coleman. Can of corn is what they call it. Next is Ron Darling. And this will be off the pitcher's card. Darling bats righty. So that is a 5 and a 9, and that's a fly ball, shallow left field, Coleman. Makes the catch, 2 outs, and here's Wally Backman. And that's a 4. Backman is batting from the left side, so it's a 4 and a 10, and that's a ground ball. Third baseman X, that 12. Our third baseman, we didn't write down what he is, but it's Terry Pendleton. And Pendleton, I don't remember what kind of, he was always a 1 E28, so good range. A 1 with an E28. So let's see what happens. That 12 may be a lookup on that E28. Yeah, it is. So we're going to look up at the E28. We're going to roll again and see what happens. On the E28, we got a snake eyes, and that's a 2-base error. So he throws over the head of Clark, and making it to second is Lenny Dykstra. Should have Dykstra's card there. There he is. E5. So a 2-out, 2-base error by Terry Pendleton. There's been some sloppy play here today. And Dykstra's on at second base. Now it's Backman, old Wally Backman. Pitch from Cox, runner in scoring position for the Mets. That's a 4. A 4 and a 5 is a ground ball, second base. Her up with it over to first, just gets him by half a step. Hustling down the line was Backman. So no runs, no hits, and error, 1 left. We move to the bottom of the 5th inning. Ron Darling and Danny Cox locked in a pitcher's duel. So the pitcher is coming up, so it's Danny Cox. And that is off Cox with a 10, and that's, oh, ball 4, Jesus, oh no. He walks the pitcher. Worst possible outcome right here with a 1 card. Pitcher's hitting 1 card. Not many hits on that card at all. I think, does it have any hits at all? It's all strikeouts. Funny. All right, so walking is the pitcher. Danny Cox, and he's on at first. Here's Vince Coleman, and Darling. That's going to be off Darling, the left-hander, and it's a 5, and that's going to be a fly ball center field. Drifting over and under it is Dykstra for the first out. Ozzie Smith is next. We should maybe hit and run. Let's see. Let's try to hit and run. And there, oh no, not with the pitcher. Forget that. Forget that. I didn't do that with the pitcher. Just going to play it safe. Ozzie Smith, and it's going to be a 5. He's batting lefty, and a 2 is right back to the pitcher. Darling goes to second for 1, back to first. Not in time, so it's a fielder's choice. So he hit a right back to Darling, and Darling acted quickly and fired it to Santana, who then fired it to first baseman Hernandez, but Ozzie Smith was hustling, and he was a couple steps closer to first base as well, batting lefty against the righty Darling. So Ozzie Smith is on at first now, and Ozzie Smith is a double-A. So he will be going with 2 outs. There it goes, and he is safe. Again, there's a rule. I know there's a rule that states that if it's a 1-2-3, I believe it's a catcher, you roll for a catcher error, I think. But I don't remember that rule, and I'm not going to look it up now. It doesn't really matter to me that much. So he steals second base. 2 outs. 1 on, scoring position. And here's Tommy Her. Pitch from Darling. And that is batting lefty again. That's a 5 and a 7. And that's a ground ball, second base. X with an 11. That's going to force us. Wally Backman. Hopefully the Mets have somebody who can field. Let's see if it's Backman. Backman, no, he's a 3E13. They're all terrible. 3E13. So that 3 at second base with the 11 will force us to go to the E13. Yep. So we're going to go to the E13, and we're going to roll again there. E13, and that's a 4, and that's a 1-base error. So he bobbles it, he boots it, and stopping the third is Ozzie Smith. So E4. So that is 1 error, 2 errors. 2 errors for the Mets so far. And any errors for the, 1 error for the Cardinals. So sloppy game here defensively. And it's Jack Clark now. This is the last guy Darling wants to face with runners on. It's a 0-0 tie, but Jack Clark with 1 swing of the bat, he's got a ton of diamond shots as well, and he's got good power. He's got in column 1 against the righty, he's got 5 and 6 are home runs, 7. Actually, 10 is a home run, 1 to 17. 7 is only a 1. So he's got, you want to stay away from that column 1 on Jack Clark. So Ron Darling, last time he walked him, really pitched around him. He knew what he was facing and decided he was going to be very, very cautious. So there's runners on first and third, 2 outs. And here is the power hitting Jack Clark, 35 home runs and 400 at bats. So he would have hit, let's say, maybe 52, 53 home runs in a full season in 1987. Here's a pitch from Ron Darling. And that's a 1. And that's the column we wanted to stay away from. And that's a deep drive. And what do we call that ball? Is no doubter over the fence. And that's a 3-run shot. Jack Clark unloads on a Darling fastball. And the Cardinals are up 3-0. Yikes. Exactly what we didn't want to happen. We wanted to stay away from column 1. And we wanted to stay away from 5 and 6 and 10. And we rolled a 1-5. So 3-0 Cardinals. Jack Clark, 1 swing of the bat. And here's Willie McGee. Oh, and that's all 6s. So they'll be off Darling. And a 12 is bounced to first. Keith Hernandez makes the play. So 3 runs come in. They're all going to be unearned runs. Only 1 hit because that error on Backman extended it. So Backman is going back to the bench with his head down at this point. And trying to get to the 7th inning so I can take a little break. I'm getting a little drained. My energy level is coming down a bit. Here's Keith Hernandez leading off against Danny Cox. Like a little burst of energy. Second day from surgery. Yesterday was the first day. Surgery was on Monday. So here's a 5. That'll be Keith Hernandez, a lefty, a 5 and a 4, and that's a fly ball. Center field X with a 2. Center fielder is McGee. McGee's supposed to be a pretty good fielder. Let's see if I'm right on that. I remember McGee being a pretty good fielder. He's a 1. He's a 1E8. So 1E8 will. Oof, I almost got cards going down on the floor, and that would be a problem because I can't bend. All right, so it's a center field and a 1, a 2, and that's a drive in the gap, and after it is McGee, and McGee gets there. So Keith Hernandez gave it a ride, but Willie McGee made a valiant effort to track that ball down. Here's Gary Carter. Mets need some base runners now. It's going to be a 3 against the righty, a 3 and a 4, and that's popped up. Middle infield, shortstop, second baseman converge, and her looks at Smith. Smith looks at her, and it's Smith who makes the catch, and Darryl Strawberry steps in the box. Strawberry today's flat out twice. And that's a 3 and a 9er against the righty, a 3 and a 9er, and that is ball 4. So Strawberry walks with 2 outs. And it's Kevin McReynolds, who's got good power. Pitch, and that is a 4 against the righty, and a 7, and that's ball 4. So back-to-back walks here. And Steve Lake is going to go out and talk to Danny Cox, who's lost the plate a little bit. 2 easy outs, and then 2 walks back-to-back. And here is how Hojo with good power. Hojo hit 36 home runs and 550 at-bats. A lot of times it's not only how many home runs you hit, but you got to look at the at-bats, right? Did he play a whole season? Did he play half a season? So if he hits 30 home runs in half a season, his card represents 60 home runs in a whole season. So he's going to have a heck of a card. So Danny Cox is going to proceed with caution with the lefty, Howard Johnson. Switch hitter, but batting lefty against the righty. Here's a pitch, and that's a 1 column. A 1 column. You want to stay away from the 1 column. A 1 and a 6 is a strikeout. Swings and misses at a high fastball. Swings out of his shoes. Wanted to tie this game up with 1 swing of the bat, but the Mets leave a couple. And we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. So Ron Darling still in there. Ron Darling's point of weakness is a 7. 7, so he is in the 6th inning still. And Danny Cox is a 7 as well. I like Strat's system for a few things, but one of the things I like their point of weakness system. I like that system. I think it feels right. It's easy to play. It's easy to follow. Okay, here's Jim Lindemann, who's 0 for 1 today with a walk. And it's off of Darling's card with a 7, and that's a ground ball second base X, a 13. Wally Backman is a 3. 3-13, and that's a ground ball that he gloves and throws out Lindemann. Terry Pendleton. And it's going to be a 4 and an 8. A 4 and an 8, and that's a drive. And in the gap, and after it is Dykstra. And Dykstra comes up with it, F8. So that was actually Splitsville on that 8. It's a Splitsville. Terry Pendleton, hold on a second. It was, hold on, let me make sure I did the right thing here. It was a 4, so that's off of Darling. And then the 8 is a 1-5 double, and then out to the center fielder, 6-20. I rolled a 7, so I'm right on the money there. So Pendleton flies out, and here comes Steve Lake. Lake hit a home run in yesterday's game, and that's going to be a 4. He's a righty, a 4 and a 12, and that's bounced to Hernandez at first. He loves it to end the inning. So we go to top of the 7th, 3 up, 3 down for Darling. Hasn't allowed an earned run yet in this game. It's going to be Danny Cox against the bottom of the order, Santana, Darling. And Santana, Darling, I don't know if we're going to let the pitcher bat here in the 7th. We may have to bring in a pinch hitter. It is getting late, and we're down by 3 runs. So we may have to look and see. Let's do that quickly. See who we can bring into pinch hit. We got Mookie Wilson, switch hitter, so we'll bring in Mookie to pinch hit. So it'll be Santana, Wilson, Mookie Wilson standing in the on-deck circle with holding a bat. So it will be Wilson. And then, of course, we will bring in Jesse Orozco to pitch that 7th inning. All right, here's Rafael Santana with a 5. He's a righty hitter, 5 and a 7, and that's line base hit to center. So a rope to center field off the bat of Rafael Santana gives the Mets a runner and puts a tying run on deck. Mookie Wilson is next. And we're going to try a hit and run. Single, ground out. Yeah, let's try hit and run. There it goes. And that's a 6, and that's going to be a ground ball second base. Runner will advance. So Wilson grounds out. Next is Lane Dykstra. Dykstra with a 5. He's a lefty, a 5 and a 4, and that's a fly ball center field X with a 2. Center fielder's a 1, so he will run that down like he did earlier. He does. Fly ball B, 2-way. And here is Wally Backman. Switch hitter, batting lefty. Pitch from Cox. And that is a 4 against the lefty. And a 9er, and that's a drive in the gap. That's going to split the outfield and roll all the way to the wall, and takes an awkward bounce away from the center fielder. And Backman's going to try for 3. Scoring is Santana. Backman, here's the relay to third, the tag by Pendleton, and he is safe with an RB, a 2-out RBI triple for Wally Backman. And that is off of 4 with a 9. And I looked at the wrong place, I believe. That's why I double checked it. Sometimes I go a little bit fast. I looked at the 6th column. It's the first column here with the 4, and that's going to be just a single, and the runner will hold. So that was an awkward anticlimactic moment for our replay game, thinking it was a triple. I'm getting all excited for no reason. And we're going to have 2nd and 3rd. We're going to hold up Santana. And it's going to be a single. So it's 1st and 3rd now. And here comes Keith Hernandez. 2 outs, 2 on. Santana singled. And here's a pitch from Cox. That's a 6 against the lefty. And a 5 is ball 4 to load the bases. So bases are loaded. This is his point of weakness, so he's allowed 3 base runners. So I believe if he allows, I don't know, does it have to be consecutively? You know what? I'm just going to change him anyway. I'm going to bring in another pitcher. Doesn't really matter to me too much. So I'm going to go with I can go with Todd Orell. It's because it's only the 7th. Let's save him. I'm going to go with Bill Dolly again. Didn't pitch much yesterday, really struggled. So Dolly's going to come in. And here's a pitch to Gary Carter with, so Gary Carter, the tying run right now. It's a right-handed hitter. Here's a pitch. And that is a 1 against the righty, and a 7 is a struck him out, and that ends the inning. So no runs, couple of hits, 3 left. Bases were loaded. So the tying run was on at first in that scenario, but Gary Carter fails to come up big. And a big pitch by Dolly striking out Carter. And again, that was a 1 and a 7 off Carter's card. Let's double check that. A 1 and a 7, that's a strikeout. And at this point in the game, when it's tight like this, I start double checking the results to make sure. And that's going to be the 7th inning stretch. And this is where we're going to take a little break. I'm going to do a stamina recovery. Like I said, I'm out of surgery. This is my 2nd day out of surgery. So I run out of stamina, so I will recover a little bit, take a break, get some liquids, maybe take a little nap, and then I'll be back. All right, so it's Jesse Orozco comes in the bottom of the 7th inning stretch. He'll be facing the pitcher. Well, no, it's a pinch hitter. It's going to be, who do we decide? Jose Oquendo. Switch hitter will bat from the right side, and I just had him out. Oquendo will bat. There he is at the bottom of the pile. So let's do that. Let's put him there as a pinch hitter for Bill Dolly, who came in to retire the one key batter. The Mets in that top of the 7th. They left 2 runners on. Actually, they left the bases loaded when Bill Dolly struck out Gary Carter to end the inning. All right, so here's Jesse Orozco against Jose Oquendo. Let's do it. And that is a 2 against he'll be a righty, so that'll be off of the batter against a lefty. A 2 and a 5, and that's a ripped and caught by the second baseman, Wally Backman. L4 for the first out. Score here is 3-0. We're in the bottom of the 7th, 1 out. Vince Coleman got hit by a pitch and stole a base. He's 0 for 2 on the day. Jesse Orozco checks in. Here's a pitch, and that is Coleman. A 1 and a 5, and struck him out. Orozco with the slider gets Coleman. And here is Ozzie Smith. Ozzie Smith is 0 for 3 and stole a base. 2 out now. Pitch from Orozco. And that is a 1 and a 5, and that's a drive in the gap. That's going to split the outfielders and roll to the wall, digging for second, and a big turn is Smith and decides to go back to second. So it's a 1 against a lefty, column 1 against a lefty, and that 5 is a clear double. Yes, sir. So a 2-out double for Ozzie Smith, the wizard. And here comes Tommy Hurt. Again, another switch hitter. Pitch, and that is a 4. He'll be batting righty. Column 4 and a 12, and that's a end power home run, and he's got W on both sides. But we rolled a 5, and that will be I believe that's a single with runners advancing. Man, I think, is it 2 bases or 1? I'm going to make it 2 bases, and he drives home Ozzie Smith. So Tommy Hurt with a single a bloop single, and he's got W, so he doesn't get a chance to hit a home run. W's on both sides. So yeah, instead of a home run, I believe it's a single. All right, here's Jack Clark. Remember, this is one of the games I play. It's a fun game. I always have a good time when I play it. So here's the pitch from Orozco. Runner on first, 2 outs. Score is 4-0. Cardinals, that's 4 against a righty this time. That will be on Orozco's card, and the 9 is lined to single to left. Runner will stop at second base. And here's Willie McGee. And a 5 against, he'll be batting righty, a 5. And a 9 is, a double home run. And we roll the 9, it's going to be a double. A 9 against a righty is going to be a double. And we can try to score on this double. We can try to score a runner from first base. Who's that? Jack Clark. You know what? Clark is going to hold up. So that is 5. 5-0. And Orozco is giving up 4 consecutive base hits. And he will be, he's a 2. Let's see if he can pitch to Lindemann. See if we can get out of this inning. Here's a pitch from Orozco, struggling. Again, a 5, this time against a righty. A 5 and a 9, and that's an end home run. 1-7. We roll the 16. That's going to be a double. 1-run score, 2-run scores, and that's it for Jesse Orozco, who had a horrible 87 season. Had an ERA of 4.44. And that's going to be it for Orozco. He got hammered in a short time he was in there. And we'll bring in Randy Myers. Randy Myers will come in. What did Myers do in the previous game? Myers pitched 2.2. Then we brought in Sisk. Let me grab Sisk. I think Sisk only pitched 1 inning. Yeah, Doug Sisk will come in. He is a righty at this point. It doesn't really matter. We're down 7-0 here in the bottom of the 7th. Terry Pendleton, switch hitter. And it's Sisk. And the pitch. And that is a 5 on the switch hitter, batting from the left side. A 5 and a 9er, and that is going to be, I can't see what it is, and that's a ground ball, second base, picked up by Bachman, and that is the inning. So 4 runs come in, 4 big runs on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits. And the Cardinals take a 7-0 lead over the Mets. Go to the top of the 8th. And Worrell is going to be pitching the top of the 8th. Todd Worrell. No, those are the Mets. Here it is. Here he is. Todd Worrell comes in. He will be paid pitching against the Mets. Dolly went 0.1. Starter went 7.2. So Danny Cox pitched 7 innings of shutout ball. All right. Here is Todd Worrell versus Darryl Strawberry, top of the 8th. Strawberry today, 0 for 2. There's a pitch. That's a 2. He is a righty. And a 7, and that is a drive in the gap. And after it is McGee, and McGee runs it down. Robbed Strawberry of a triple, I believe this is for the 2nd time today. Here's McReynolds, Todd Worrell, winds and deals. he is a 6 and a 7. That's line base hit right field. So Kevin McReynolds goes oppo and rips one. Played by Lindemann on a hop. Gets it into second baseman Tommy Hurt. And here's Howard Johnson. Pitch from Worrell. That is a 2 against the righty. And a 7, and that is a strikeout. So that's a second out. Johnson swinging for the fences. Why? I don't know. He's down by 7. And here is Rafael Santana. That's a 2 and a 12 against the righty. So a 2 and a 12. That's a base hit. Oh, anybody in scoring position? No. So McReynolds will hold first and second here. So that 2 and a 12 against the righty. Single to center. And now we're going to bring in a pinch hitter. We already used Mookie Wilson. Let's see who else we can use. Hold on. Tim Tuffle's going to bat. And here's a pitch from Worrell with 2 on, 2 out. And that is a 5 against the righty, a 5 and a 12. And that's a diamond shot with a 3. That's driven deep to left field. And that ball is out of here. 3-run shot for pinch hitter Tim Tuffle. The score is now 7-3. And Todd Worrell wishes he had that pitch back. Top of the order now. Mookie Wilson up 7-3, 3-run homer, and Tuffle gets greeted by his teammates at the plate. And a switch hitter batting lefty. That's a 6 and a 9, and that is a 1-12 single. That's an 11. That's a bounce up the middle and through for Mookie Wilson's single. And that's going to be it for Todd Worrell. So we're going to go and look at, let's see if we can grab, who are we going to grab right now? We're going to grab Horton. Rick Horton. So Horton comes in. And it's Wally Backman. Switch hitter. And here's the pitch. And that is a 1. A 1. That's off the batter. He is a lefty. So he's against a lefty here. He bats against a left-handed pitcher. And that's an 8. Bounce to third, picked up by Pendleton over to first, and that retires the side. But the Mets do pick up 3 runs. On the 3-run pinch hit home run by Tim Tuffle, 7-3. They trail by 4 runs. 3 runs on 1, 2, 3 hits, 4 hits. Go to the bottom of the 8th now. Need a new pitcher for the Mets. Now let's see who that's going to be. Ricky Horton. Doug Sisk was in there. I didn't really want to pinch hit for him, but I had no choice. Conway McGrath. Let's see. Here are the Mets, I believe. Yeah. So Fernandez, McDowell is going to come in. Made some cards myself. So Roger McDowell will come in for a pitch. To the bottom half of the order. McDowell. And here comes Steve Lake. Oh, there's one in throw. Steve Lake, a 6 on a righty with an 8 is a single. Base hit. That looks like it's a base hit to center field. So Lake singles. And the pitcher now is going to bunt. Pitcher is Horton. Is a 2. He's going to bunt, so just throw some dice, and he's going to square. I don't know what kind of a bunch we could do. We need that? No, we don't. This is the simplified version. All right. So that's a 6, and a 6 is going to be a batter thrown out by third baseman. Runners advance 1 base. Perfect. So it's a good sacrifice by the pitcher. 5, so Horton sacrifices. Runner second. And out comes the top of the order. Coleman against Roger McDowell. He's pitch. And that's a 1 and a 7 off the righty McDowell. And that's going to be a strikeout. Big strikeout by McDowell. 2 outs. Here's Ozzie Smith. Ozzie Smith today is 1 for 4 with a double. And that is a 4 against the lefty, a 4 and a 9, and walks him. So McDowell walks him, walks Ozzie Smith. And it's first and second with Tommy Hurd back. His pitch, and all right, it's a 1 and a 12, and that is a foul out, but it's a star line single 1 to 10, and that's a 13, so that's lined and caught by a second baseman, L4 to end the inning. No runs, 1 hit, 2 left. We go to the top of the 9th. Last licks for the Mets. Last licks for the Mets. Horton, the second game of a 3-game weekend set here in St. Louis is going to be Hernandez leading off against Ricky Horton. Hernandez steps to the box and the left side. That's a 6 against the lefty with an 8, and that is 1 to 10 single. Otherwise, it's a bouncing ball, and that's through for a base hit. Gets into the outfield. So Keith Hernandez picks up his first hit of the day to go along with 3 walks. So he's 1 for 2. And here is Gary Carter, pitch from Horton. That is a 1 against the lefty and a 3, and that is a diamond shot single. Base hit. Runner will hold. First and second. And this is it for, I don't have any more pictures based on, the fact that Strat-O-Matic doesn't give you all the cards. Here is, who's batting now? It is, oh man. Darryl Strawberry with a 1. He's a lefty, a 1 and a 7, and that's a deep drive. That is a deep drive way back, and that's a 3-run home run. He parks it into the seats in right field, and the score now is 7 to 6. 1, 2, 3 RBIs. Here's Kevin McReynolds against the lefty. It's a 1 and a 4, and that's popped up right side. First baseman. Oh, that's second baseman. First baseman, Jack Clark, puts it away. Next is Hojo, Howard Johnson. Pitch, and that's a 5. He'll bat a righty. A 5 and a 7, and that's ground ball second base with an 18. Second baseman Tommy Herr. Did I write what he is? No, I don't think I did. He is a 2E8. Yep, wrong play. E8. So 2, and what did we roll? We rolled that looks like an 18. So second baseman 2 with an 18, and that is a ground ball A. So it's a nice play by Tommy Herr, and that brings up Santana. And I'd like to bring in somebody with a little power off the bench. Let's see who I got on the bench with a little bit of power that hasn't played in this game. Oh, you know what? No. I believe I have a Lee Mazzilli, switch hitter. Got a little power. I believe he was on this team the whole season through, I hope. Barry Lyons. Barry Lyons will hit. He's got some power. So Barry Lyons comes in. You know what? I don't know that I have another shortstop, and I'm not gonna take him out. So what we're gonna do is allow Lyons. We don't even have any more pitchers. I've used so many players in this game. All right, so let's see if we can tie this game up. Then we'll worry about that. Barry Lyons against Ricky Horton. 2 outs, top of the 9th. Last licks for the Mets. The score 7-6. 3-run homer by Tuffle in the 8th, and a 3-run homer by Strawberry in the 9th. Here's a pitch from Horton. And that's a 2 and a 4. 2 and a 4 against a lefty, and that is a star line with a 3. That's a base hit. So Lyons singles. Oh no, it's sorry, that's a mistake. It was not Lyons. Oh, did I say it was? Yeah, I said it was going to be Lyons, and I'd worry about everything else later. So that's going to be a single for Barry Lyons. A 2 with a 4 is a half diamond shot single. I rolled a 3, and he is not a speedy runner. 1 to 10. I don't know if I have any pinch runners. You know, really that's the issue with a game like Strat-O-Matic. They don't give you all the players, so at different times in the season, you're down a player, and I don't want to go through. I'm playing this out of bed after surgery, and I'm not worried about that. So Lyons is going to run for himself, and now we need a pinch hitter for the pitcher, and I don't even know if we have that. So I believe we're going to bring in Mazzilli. Lee Mazzilli will pinch hit. And here is the pitch from Horton, who is now, is he fatigued? This is his 2nd inning. No, so he doesn't get his point of weakness. This is his 3rd inning. Here's a pitch from Horton. That's a 1 against a lefty. A 1 and a 6, and that is ripped to short. And Ozzie Smith sidearms it over to Tommy Hurt, and that will end the game. Wow, what a game that was. Final score. So that's 3 runs on 4 hits for the Mets, and the Mets will really come back heroically, but just 1 run short of tying the game. 2 3-run homers, 1 in the 7th by pinch hitter Tuffle, 1 in the 8th by pinch hitter Tuffle, 1 in the 9th by Darryl Strawberry, and the final score 7-6 the Cardinals. And another heartbreaker for the Mets, 2 in a row. They lost 8-6 yesterday, and they were down 8-1 until the 8th inning when they scored 5, and they brought it to 8-6. So the Mets lose again, unfortunately, and that's about it. This is Tony Porter, Cards and Dice TV. Remember to join Universal Baseball Association Facebook group. Thanks for watching my Strat-O-Matic game. I don't always play it, so when I do play it, I hope you guys enjoy it. And take care.